Kendall with us.
Oh, hi, Kendall.
We're getting another one right now, too.
And here comes Maya Smith.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Great. Thank you for joining us.
Of course.
So, and we are expecting, so we have with us so far, I'm Jane, I'm the Director of Admissions. We have Randall Reed, who is our Assistant Director of Admissions. We have Wydella Llanos, who is our Admissions Counselor.
Hi.
And you're also here, Maya, with Kendall, who's also going to be a student this year.
Hi.
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 So just so you know, Maya, this is our first time doing this. I appreciate your, oh, hey, Erica, how are you?
I'm okay.
That's awesome. Well, I'm just letting everybody, I'm introducing everyone. So you're going to meet Kendall and Maya, who will be fellow students.
Hi.
And we may have other students joining us throughout, but we have Casey Smith. He's our professor of liberal arts.
Hi, Maya and Erica and Kendall. I'm not sure if I met any of you at open houses or portfolio days. What's that?
I met you. We're
You met-
doing
okay.
the press, the printer press.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
You got it.
Are you guys in Delaware or New Jersey, or where are you zooming in from?
New Jersey.
Mine's is Maryland.
I'm Maryland.
Okay.
Excellent. Well, I'm glad you could join us this afternoon. We're going to be doing a series of discussions with various members of our faculty and staff. We'll probably, like I said, this is our first one. Be kind. We haven't done this before. We, of course, love to see you in person. You're welcome to the small group. We pride ourselves on really getting to know everyone personally, so you're all invited to interrupt, ask questions as we go. What we had planned is we're going to ask Casey some questions, so you get to know him, and then at some point, Megan Johnson, who is our librarian, will be joining as well, and they together can talk a little bit about how they support student success at DCAD. So I'm going to get started, Casey, if you're ready.
Okay, and I'll just preface this by saying I prefer, like almost every DCAD faculty member, to be called by my first name. So you don't need to call me Professor Smith. I just prefer to be called Casey. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay, Professor Smith. Casey, tell us a little bit about your background, where you're from, your teaching experience.
Okay, of course, yeah. Boy, I believe this is my 30th year of teaching college students. I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Indiana, but I've been living in Washington, D.C. for, I don't know, about 20 years before I moved to Wilmington. I started DCAD two years ago. So I have a PhD in English literature. My field is 19th century British. So you might remember Charles Dickens and Oscar Wilde and folks like that. Yes, but my whole life I've been a teacher. That's what I define myself as. And so I adore teaching. There's never been a day when I thought that I made a bad decision. I've always just been really, really happy to make relationships with students and to help them become better writers, better critical thinkers, you know, creative writers. I mean, all kinds of stuff like that. And so, yeah, kind of so-called traditional schools. But I taught for about 20 years down in DC at the Corcoran College of Art and Design. DCAD used to have a kind of a partnership with the Corcoran. So I've known tons and tons of students, friends, you know, like Randall went to DCAD, and so I know some of his classmates and stuff like that. Teaching at a art college is special, and it's wonderful. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. I think the students tend to be a little bit more genuine. They're not like grade grubbers so much, you know. They really do want to challenge their classmates and their professors and there's, you know, and all of that. And so I adore teaching, teaching at an art college specifically, and an art college like DCAD, where I truly know every single student, even the students who aren't taking my classes. I know them, I know what their kind of their trajectory with their artwork is. Those of you who've been through, you kind of already know that. It's just super close and super, I don't know, like friendly, like we all try to help each other out. And I'm the first person to admit that I learn a lot from my students. And so that's one of the benefits of teaching at an art college. It keeps my mind fresh. And like I said, I wouldn't trade it. It's really, it's kind of a niche thing to be the humanities professor at an art college. There aren't that many positions. But boy, it's just like, it's been the perfect destination for me, and DCAD in particular. So that's the basics of my background, Jane. But well, let me say one other thing. So yeah, so I got this background as a PhD scholar, and then a teacher, like classroom teacher. But then, like a lot of DCAD faculty, I'm also a studio artist. And so just lately I've started printmaking. And it's, you know, I'm learning, you know, printmaking is kind of hard, but I'm learning all the time. And so I kind of do a little bit of a lot of things, but they all come together, and I think in a really beautiful and seamless way.
That's awesome. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that your printmaking work, because it's something that we've all had an opportunity to see and enjoy and take part in. And that is one of the things that I think that's really different and special about DCAD is you're going to find most everyone there we make something, you know, we create something, and it's always an ongoing process and the kind of environment that you're always going to feel supported by. You know, you're working on something, we know it's challenging, we're here to help you, and we've for the most part been there too. So
well, and there are all of these amazing kind of intersections, because
yeah.
Yes, I'm an English teacher, so I study literature and poetry and stuff like that. But then my scholarly area was in the history of printing. So that's the history of graphic design, that's illustration, the history of illustration, printmaking, of course. And so all of these things come together in just a wonderful, wonderful way.
Very cool. Randall, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Sure. So Casey, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the curriculum. I think a lot of times students can be overwhelmed by the academic lift that might happen, but I see the work of your students in the hallways and up on the walls and in the stairwells. So could you give us some insight on your teaching approach?
Yes. Thank you, Randall. It's a great question. Well, to begin with, it's not like tradition is kind of like what I was talking about earlier. We really want to explore text and image things. So we always are doing kind of what I call creative assignments that kind of bring together. A good example is my introduction to children's literature class this past semester. You know, they were doing some standard kind of research papers and kind of presentations on famous children's book authors, you know, like Maurice Sendak and gosh, A.A. Milne and Lewis Carroll, and not only old white guys, you know, but a bunch of different people too. But yeah, and so we had this one assignment that the students loved, and the assignment was to think of a children's book story, okay, and to kind of write the plot, you know, in a couple paragraphs. All right, here's what happens, okay? And then the one constraint was it had to be about a wombat. I have this like stuffed animal wombat that's kind of a unofficial kind of mascot of the third floor of the liberal arts department. So they all wrote these stories that were, you guys know what a wombat is? It's like this Australian kind of bear-like animal, super cute. So Google wombat after we finish our talk and you'll see some really cute, some cute wombats. But so anyway, so they, so the assignment was for them to make a book cover, like a mock book cover, like here's the cover of your book. with the typography, with the image. I mean, a lot of the photographers kind of made photo collages. The fine artists, you know, did paintings and drawings. All these different, of course. So they wrote the kind of like, well, what happens in the book? And then they also wrote a couple paragraphs about like, okay, well, why is this important? What ideas does this activate? And why would a child, we're thinking of children's literature course, why would a child really, what would they get from reading this book or having the book read to them? And so the students had this wonderfully, I mean, I was really impressed with the outcomes that the students kind of came up with. And the main theme was about a kind of radical inclusivity. And we kind of started then a discussion about that. Perhaps that's really at the heart of every children's book and all of children's literature. That experience of the child being confused about, you know, the grown-up world or the world outside, and how does that child kind of adjust? And so we had great students talk about anthropomorphism, like why animals are so important for kids, to how they can kind of learn. And so it was just a really cool seminar that we had that day. Everybody kind of, you know, proud of their work and kind of showing it. We printed some of them like big posters. I put some images of what I thought were kind of the better illustrations on the class blog, you know, because I kind of run a class blog kind of aliside the class where I can, you know, put links to movies and cool stuff that's in the news, and student work too, of course. But we do a lot of stuff in the hallways and the corridors. Those of you who visited DCAD, I'm sure you remember that almost every square inch of the corridors is filled with student work. And that's true also in the liberal arts department. So we're not only doing like old fashioned essays, and we're kind of thinking about creative. The art history teachers do this, where you kind of study the past and then you kind of come up with your own take on it. And so it's really cool curriculum how it works together, because there's not a firm separation between liberal arts and studio. And actually this is true in the studio classes too. Sometimes there are kind of like academic assignments where you have to read something and write, you know, and that's also part of the studio experience. I mean, there is a difference, of course. You know, there's more of that in liberal arts, but we do like to come together and collaborate. In fact, right in front of me, you can kind of see it here. This big photo behind me. It's probably too blurry to see, but a friend of mine who was a colleague who I taught with for a long time is a nature photographer. Her name is Terry Weifenbach. And she's moved to Paris, and that's part of their second year assignment, is to make these photo books. And so we did a Zoom call with Terry from Paris. This was like, I don't know, I guess 2 weeks ago or so. And the students had an opportunity to kind of talk with her. They kind of checked out her work beforehand. And she was amazed by the performance of our students. She was just knocked over. She was like, wow, they asked such smart questions. I'm like, yeah, I know, they're our students. They're our DCAD students. And that's actually something that I noticed back when I was teaching in DC for all those years. The DCAD students who finished their first 2 years at DCAD, and then they came down to DC to finish their BFA, they were just a step ahead. And I always wondered about how and why that is. I think in some ways it's because your second year at DCAD, you're kind of like a senior. It's a weird kind of like accelerated maturation. And so, I don't know, it's really cool how that works at DCAD. And I don't think there's really another art college like DCAD in that respect. So the students who entered the third year, both in their liberal arts classes and in their studio classes, they all report that they feel like they are super prepared and that they can roll with the the best of the students that they're, you know, kind of in their new colleges with. So I love that about DCAD.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
So Della, I'm going to ask you to take the next set of questions.
Sure. So you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but what do you think is specific to DCAD that students can gain from going to DCAD?
Okay, well, gosh, I could talk for hours about this, but I won't. I promise I won't. One of the most, I mean, people overuse the family metaphor, but there's something about DCAD where really everybody knows everybody, including our president, Jean Dahlgren. People do not call her Madam President. She's around, she's in the corridors. Students stop by and talk to her and a professor for years and years. And so by coming to DCAD, you become part of a community. One really cool thing is that in Wilmington, because Wilmington is a small city, you know, it's not a big sprawl, it's not Baltimore, it's not Philly. But the cool thing about it is you can make your opportunities absolutely in Wilmington. Like, you can make it happen. We have one great first year student, her name is Adriana, and she was always hustling and always trying to, and when you do that, the doors open, you know, you just keep knocking, somebody's going to answer the door. So there are so many opportunities in Wilmington for young artists and designers and animators and all of that. And we're really kind of plugged in with the Wilmington and kind of the greater Brandywine. It's not only Wilmington. I mean, it does come up into Philly a little bit and down into Maryland. But right in Wilmington, I think our students have all kinds of opportunities. In fact, we got a great student who ended up at the Delaware Contemporary, Josh Hollingsworth. He's a photo major. And and so, I don't know, urban, it's definitely a city, but it's not this giant thing. It's pretty knowable, which I love about. I mean, my apartment is just about a 10-minute walk from the campus, so it's cool. I can, you know, go home for lunch and stuff like that. But so that's part of it, Della. I'm trying to think of other things. I mean, then the curriculum, you know, the curriculum is really designed to kind of launch students, both students who want to finish their BFA and also students who are thinking, you know, like, I'm going to do this 2-year degree and then I'm going to see what's what. Maybe I'll try to start my own business, or, you know, or go into the workforce. And some students absolutely do that. And so, hi, Megan.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. You just caught me in the middle of stuff. I don't know. Well, now that Megan's on the line, because she's our librarian, and it's something that has not come up yet in my talk, is that the relationship that the liberal arts department has with the library is integral. We're all on the 3rd floor, and so that's kind of like our spot, the 3rd floor. And I don't think this is like this in any other art college. I might be wrong. The 3rd floor is like the student center, like the students want to go to the library. That's where they get together. And it's not like a shh, be quiet library. It's kind of an active, dynamic learning space. And our students want to be there. And that's where they that's like the student center in a weird way, but I think it's beautiful. I totally love that about our students. And they access all the books and magazines, and sometimes they'll just do some of their artwork on the tables just because it's a cool place to be. I don't know, but I love the library. The library is totally special at DCAD.
Yeah, I know I'm biased, but it's a great collection. It's been built over the 20 years at the school, 22 years now that the school has been open, and it's in depth. It supports all the majors. Every day I meet a new artist in the stacks that I just was unaware of, and it's still I've been to many places where the library is mostly online. It's like all online databases and stuff. This is still a very physical, not during Corona, but physical use library, that your professors will want you looking at the actual books on Degas drawings or design ideas from the 1950s or whatever is germane to the assignment or what you guys are up to.
Well, yeah, and there are, I mean, there are also just, you know, really crisp, great Macintosh computers. And so it's not either or, it's definitely both, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so our students love the library, and that's, you know, that's nothing but great. We also have, some of you might remember, like Maya, you might remember from open house, and any of the rest of you guys who were at the open houses. We have this wonderful space that is a student lounge, but it's also a tutorial center. It's just called the Writer's Studio. And that's where students can come and they can talk to a faculty member, very often me, about maybe it's an essay for a class that they're struggling with, or maybe it's, we do a lot of work with the A- students, you know, the students who are just want to like get over that little glitch and they want, you know, they just want to do better. And so we deal with students in their curricular work, but also their, you know, job letters and their internship letters and, you know, whatever other kinds of writing, reading, critical thinking stuff. And so the Writer's Studio is just pretty cool. There's a little kitchenette in there. You know, students love hanging out in there too. Couches where there's a lot of napping, you know, but that's good. People need naps.
In a hammock.
The hammock in the library. Yep.
So I just want to briefly interrupt. Thank you, Megan, for joining us. Just so you know, we are joined with Maya, Erica, and Kendall, our future students. And, you know, I let them know that this is our first go around at this, that, you know, that we'll do our best to answer any questions they might have. But I wanted to make sure that they get to know you a little bit, Megan. Casey had an opportunity to kind of just describe his background and where he's from and that type of thing. So maybe you'd share that with us as well.
Sure. I was a undergrad art student as well. I started at MICA, which is down in Baltimore, and a lot of our students actually transferred down to MICA. And for about 10 years out of art school, I worked in an artist, like a collaborative space, one of those studio spaces everybody shares. And I was an artist slash everything, you know, under the sun. A lot of waitressing, or I worked for potters. I did all kinds of arty stuff. And then eventually I got into working at a library, and I was like, oh, I could combine these two, you know, interests, and, you know, became a librarian. And it's been a great trajectory for me. And of all the places I've worked, DCAD's my favorite. It's high energy. It's unique and positive. And so, and I really like the nature of the work in helping students find what they want and what they need. So, and I still, you know, still make art. And that's another really great thing at DCAD. There's endless opportunities to display your work. And, you know, it's a vibrant, you know, it's an interesting community. It's like I'm challenged working at DCAD you get to be creative. You have a creative solution. I've seen Casey do like all kinds of crazy things, you know. If you have a great idea, most people will be like, yeah, let's make that happen. You want to put on a show? Go for it. Did you guys talk about Cam and his fashion show this fall? Yeah, Cam is one of the library employees. There's about 6 or 7. No, there's more than that. 10 students who work at the library, and Cam is one of them. And he, first year, decided during a fall opening to have his own fashion show, and everybody was like, "Go for it!" And it was awesome, you know. And that's like an example of something that. I don't, you know.
Well, and Jessica, you know, she's a library worker, and she was right there. There was a big group. I mean, Cam was the main guy, but
Oh,
There
he
were
did it with like
probably
20, people outside the college. It was a fabulous event. Yeah.
Well,
So-
so I guess too that the library is more than a library. We've been talking a little bit about that. It really, first off, it is fantastic. It's a great place to not just study, relax, meet with friends, chill out. Megan has been incredibly generous with her time and talent, and we had students interested in doing a drag show or doing a poetry slam, all of these different things. If you want to do it, if we can make it happen, we will. We don't prescribe, particular clubs. The clubs and get-togethers are really up to you. So you want to do something, we'll do our best to support it. So, and I think Megan's been a terrific partner. And you know what, I want to also mention, Megan is not just the librarian. She's also on 20 other committees within the college. And has helped us with everything from, website troubleshooting to everything else in between. So she's a great resource. She'll help you. And she does that really at the beginning, not just at the beginning of the semester, right, Megan, but throughout.
Yeah.
As you're working on research papers and that type of thing.
Yeah, I get to teach. I hope to be able to continue to teach is a part of the team that does first year experience. That way I get to meet all the incoming freshmen. It's really fun.
So awesome. Well, we're down to our last few minutes, so we're just going to open it up. If Erica, Maya, Kendall have any questions, we'd love to. And they don't necessarily have to be about liberal arts or the library or student support. Anything that is on your mind that we'll do our best to answer, okay? So if you have a question, you just go for it, Erica.
I just wanted to know a little bit about, you already mentioned a little bit about it, but about the workload of like the average amount, because I was hearing a lot, like there was a lot of it. I was just kind of curious.
That's a great question. Typically, your 2 years at DCAD class is an elective, but the other assistant designer, you really do need to learn art history. We have a new course that's coming online that everybody's really excited about, which is non-Western art, because we have to learn about art outside of Europe and North America. That's just a reality. And so the workload, you typically, Erica, you take 3 studio classes a semester and 2 liberal arts classes. That's kind of the average, more or less. But you know what? Yes, it is a lot of work, but it's also manageable. Nobody's trying to break your back, but we also want to challenge you. It's not easy either. So I think it's a perfect balance, really.
And because the liberal arts support your studio work, it's going to feel so intertwined, and it's going to give you really a better perspective on not only what you're learning, but what you're making. I mean, it is, believe me, it's challenging. And part of that is because when you're in the studio and you have an assignment, you don't know how long it's going to take you, right? I mean, it's going to take you till you're done, till you're satisfied with the results. So that is certainly one of the variables. But the other thing you should know too is we have studio space available. We have people that are here to help you and make sure that you are successful. So it's way too early for you to worry about that, Erica. You're going to do great.
And pretty much all of us have been through this experience of going to art school, and we can tell you firsthand that it's, like they said, it's a lot of work, but it's also enjoyable because it's something that you are passionate about and it's something that you enjoy doing. So yeah, it might be a lot of work, but they always say, like, if you love what you do, you don't work. So it's like the same concept with school. If you love what you do, it doesn't feel like homework. It doesn't feel like schoolwork. It just feels like you're creating stuff.
That's Della, that's such a good point. I mean, we have lots of students who sometimes they can be frustrated because an assignment can be difficult, but they're learning color theory, for instance. And they really, before they took the course, they just had this kind of like intuitive sense of color. But it's something that you can actually study, and you can actually learn directly about why certain colors work and certain colors don't, you know, all of this. And so, it directly plugs into your, you know, to what you're going to be doing in the future, whatever that making is.
And two, Erica, what's I think really gratifying for me and probably everybody here is you're going to be able to see your progress every single week because your assignments are going to be up on the wall. There's going to be this sense of a rush of gratitude and relief and happiness, you know, as you see that. It's just amazing, and it's very, for me or anyone that's visiting the college, it's very uplifting. And so when we see your first self-portrait and then we see your last self-portrait, it's going to be an amazing experience. So we're super excited, and we're all here to help you.
Thank you. That is reassuring. Definitely. That's the only question I have. But that is really reassuring. Thank you.
And anything from Kendall or Maya?
Would you be able to open back your school? Or would you do online classes?
So it's such a good question. I'm glad you asked. So we're, you know, obviously we're in a shutdown mode right now here in Delaware, and we are very hopeful that we'll be open. We're planning on teaching one way or another during the last week in August. So what we are working on now, and just so you know, we just had to finish the last, you know, second half of the last semester online, and they did an amazing job. So what we're preparing for is a lot of different possibilities, Kendall. So one, or preferred, of course, is to be on campus in the studio. And that's what we're working towards. But in addition, we're looking at other methodologies to deliver the quality education. One could be a hybrid where we do some of the classes in the studio and some online. And then we have to be prepared to also do everything online if that's where we are at that point. So that's where we are. And Kendall, just so you know, as we learn more, we're going to update you every step of the way. You know, it's really important. We want you to be successful, and we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that we have quality online education at the ready if we need it. But what I really want to do is see you in the studio, you know? So that's what we hope to be in August.
Yeah, we all miss being on campus.
And our students, we miss them.
Yeah.
So that's where we are, Kendall. So rest assured, as things develop, and you know what, things seem to be changing every day, sometimes twice a day. You know, we'll keep you and everybody else updated. Okay.
Okay. I just wanted a college experience, how it feels to be away from your family.
Well, you know, that is such a good point, and we want you to have that.
Right.
It's a mixture of, you know, excitement and freedom and self-management, you know, and independence. That is part of the fun. And then also being around other artists and designers. You really can't do better to be around other people that are, you know, that you can share your ideas with and create with. So that's what we're working towards. That's what we are hopeful we'll be able to deliver. And Maya, anything from you?
I mean, she kind of asked my question. It was about when we were gonna go back, like when is college gonna start? Because I did the housing tuition and stuff, and I just wanted to know when I could like get on campus and get the college experience to get away with family as well.
Absolutely. So what our normal schedule would be, where everybody's moving in that last week of August. Really, it's the weekend before the last week, so we can launch it that way. And so there'll be a couple days of orientation and getting to know students, and we generally have a cookout and some other fun activities and field trips and get-togethers at that point. So that's what our plan is, Maya. Now, my understanding is at the moment anyway, we're gonna have at least some portion of orientation be presented online, which in some ways is just as well, you know what I mean? So it'll be fine. It's a perfect way to deliver certain information. Let's pretend you have to read the student handbook or some such, you know what I mean? So we can certainly do that from afar, but you know, if all goes according to plan, you'll be moving in. And what we also do is we have our second year students volunteer to serve as you know, orientation leaders. So they actually will be there to greet you and help you get settled.
Yeah, but of course, everybody is just so eager to get back on campus. And so
Oh, he froze a little bit.
and we have to wait and see what, you know, we have to kind of wait. We're hoping for the best, all the appropriate plans to see where we're going to be. So
Yeah, but again, we'll keep everybody updated, and you know, luckily that's, you know, some weeks away. So let's hope that will be the good news that we're sharing next time we get together. So I'm going to, unless there are any other questions.
I've got a quick question.
Okay.
Have the three of you finished high school, or are you still in the middle of that?
I have 1 week left until
Congratulations, you've almost made it.
Yay.
Cool.
I'm close to being out of high school. I graduate June 18th.
Nice. Well, finish strong, you know.
Yeah,
That's just good advice. Yeah.
thank you.
And
I
Erin,
really enjoyed talking with everybody today. This was fun. My name is not Laura. It looks like it's Laura, but it's not. It's Casey. But you guys can send me an email message, and Jane and Randall and Della can, you know, zip it to me or give you my information. That'd be great.
absolutely happy to do that. And any other questions, you know where to find me, and you can reach out to admissions@dcad.edu. We're going to send you another invitation next week, and hopefully you'll be able to join us for another chat. So it was great seeing you and having you here with us today, and we can't wait to see you and your work in person. Thanks,
Sure thing.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks, Randall. Thanks, Della.